It's Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, this wonderful MAAP community. Junie is here with me. Are you gonna say hello? Are you gonna say hello? I know, yes. So Junie's saying hello. He's gonna be my partner in crime. He and I, the reason we're going to talk about veterinarians and attorneys tonight is because he and I have finally found our new veterinarian. She's a University of Tennessee grad, and her name is Laura Bailey. And she works with her husband, who's an exotic vet, and her colleague, who is an equine vet and small animal vet. She went to University of Tennessee, and for the equine vet went to Cornell. So my old vet is a Cornell grad. So I'm sort of thrilled that this has come full circle. And as most of you know, it has taken me a really long time to find a vet because it seemed that no one wanted to be part of a breeder's situation where we really need to be able to talk to our vets, where we really need to be able to feel that they'll be there for us. And I got that feeling yesterday when I went. This is, I kid you not, the 6th vet that I've been to in Morehead City. I also have a vet who was very nice in Beaufort and whose staff was very nice. So I have a vet who works from 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. Fabulous, because nothing ever goes wrong between 9 and 5. And then this vet, which is open from 8 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. So I'm covered. I'm feeling really good. If something happens, that'll be great. They actually diagnosed a soft tissue injury on Junie because I knew he had a hitch in his giddy up, but only people like Sally or Connie and I would be able to notice hitches and giddy ups that are almost imperceptible. And the equine vet said, yeah, he's got a little bit of a tendon swelling in his rear hock. So we have him on the loop, the Assisi loop, and we have him on restricted walks, which he was very thrilled about today. He told me how happy he was not to go on his 3-mile walk. He was very angry with me. So tonight I'm going to check in with everybody, see how everyone is. We're going to talk about, that important relationship with your veterinarian and your attorney, if you're going to write your MAAP plan, and then wrap up with everyone telling me what they think and if they've talked to their veterinarian and their attorney. So I'm going to start with you, Sally. How are the girls?
The girls are great. It's funny you mentioned the Assisi loop. One of them is on the Assisi lounge as we speak. They're great. 50 degrees today, and they were having a great time. And I brushed them before we walked in the house, and there were ticks on both of them.
Oh, God.
Even though they're on the tick medicine year round, and of course they're as big as a sesame seed or a half a sesame seed, but they're a little bit shiny. And of course, as you say, you're programmed to notice certain things. I couldn't believe it. They were on both of their heads. So I killed them. And so that's that. But they're great. And the warm weather's terrific.
I know. That's why the ticks are out, right?
Yeah.
They have survived that cold weather. Susan, how's Maggie? You have to unmute, Susan, honey.
Yeah, I got it. She's up to her, usual tricks, and I'm trying to ignore her. I would buy a bark collar if I thought I could get it on her. I just want to mention we had something really sad happen today on our Metro platform. Someone had a dog on a leash that was attached to their hand, and the train took off with the dog in it, and the person was dragged along the platform and died.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I just want to mention it because it was a terrible, shocking thing. It's kind of not far from where we live that this happened.
Oh my God. Yeah, you should never have your leash around your wrist. I know that's what we tend to want to do, but really letting them go is something that is better, and then you'll get them at the next stop.
Yeah, exactly. The dog is fine. The person is
Yeah.
dead. So,
I hope they had a plan for the care of their pet if something were to
yeah,
happen to
good
them.
point. Good point. I don't, I don't even know
Yeah.
the name of the person. This just happened today at around 1:30. So, and they're not
Wow.
even allowed to bring dogs on the metro, but unless it's a service dog, they said it was not a service dog. So it's
Oh
just
my
a sad,
God.
sad situation. I'm just
It
bringing it up
really is.
to
Yeah,
raise
you know,
awareness.
it's interesting because they do allow dogs on, and I don't know, Connie, if they allow dogs on the trains in LA, but they allow dogs on the trains for Metro North. You just have to make sure that if there is someone sitting and they're allergic to dogs, I think the dog and the dog person have to get up and stand
Yeah.
in the doorway.
If the dog is in a carrier or a crate, that's okay, but not on a leash. That's not allowed. So, yeah.
Yeah, Metro North lets you bring them on a leash if they're well behaved. They can be asked to leave, but they can go on the train on Metro North. I remember because I took the dogs into the city a few times via for TV shoots and things via Metro North.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a risky thing to do if the door closes on the dog
And you're outside? Yeah, very risky thing to do. Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry that Maggie's back to her naughty self. I'm hopeful
Well,
that
she
she
is.
finds.
If I could get a dog collar on her or some kind of, I'm kind of at my wit's end at times with it, but
I know. It's frustrating. It really is.
well,
So
someday I'll record one of her episodes and play it for you so you can hear what I'm talking about.
well, we have to find you a trainer that will come and have a bit of a contract, even if they take Maggie, but have a bit of a contract that lets you know what they're going to do with Maggie and what they would do if there's an emergency, or at least let you ask questions, and then have them train you to work with Maggie.
Yeah, I've got to do something here. I think there's a company called Sit Means Sit. I had spoken to them once before. I'm thinking I may call them back. And if anyone knows anything about that company?
No, I don't know anything about them, but that doesn't mean anything. And what was it? I had you talk to Kathy Madsen, and she might know something about Sit Means Sit.
Good girl.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll ask Kathy. Yeah, because they're
Yeah, because
more
I think you need help.
hands-on, but they're more hands-on with the dog. So I think that is what I need.
Yeah, I think that they need to be hands-on with the dog and hands-on with you so that they can get her over her hump and then have you learn the skills that you need. It's sort of like a recalcitrant kid. You need to make sure that you're consistent with positive reinforcement. I know about that because I had one. So Connie, how are the kids?
The kids are doing well. We've been reading with kids in the library for Casey's therapy dog work. And we were going to go to obedience class tonight, but it is cold and windy. So, and my right arm is kind of iffy. So we're going to take the night off. It's the last class of the season, or this session, I should say. And we have a week off and then we start up again with my obedience club. But I'm very sad to report, we're having more and more kennel clubs cancel their shows here in Southern California, mainly due to financial circumstances. Beverly Hills canceled their March show, which is always the first weekend in March, and they had their contract with NBC Sports canceled last year, which, was a big financial hit.
Really a financial blow, right? Because
Awful.
they were the Easter show. It was great because we had the Thanksgiving show and they were the Easter show, right?
Exactly. And in fact, there was talk that was going to happen when I showed Casey last year at the Beverly Hills cluster. I was standing waiting to go into the breed ring, and people were talking about it in the surrounding area. And then we had another show that I have shown for years and years and years, multiple generations of dogs at one of our local universities, California Polytechnic University in Pomona. That suddenly disappeared off the superintendent's website. So that was obviously canceled. And we're seeing more and more shows go poof, and more kennel clubs get to the point where they may be disbanding, going poof. Exactly. So it's very,
and that really bodes very poorly for the preservation of breeds that we love, for the education, that's right up Ciaran's alley, the education for responsible dog owners to have mentors. It really, it sort of upends the organized means of getting a dog. And so that really is incredibly troubling. I know that for us, our Winter Garden Dog Show was pushed from February until March. And we're lucky to have it. It was always with Westminster. Not that anyone here knows about the dates of Westminster except for Connie, but the days for Westminster were almost always right before Valentine's Day.
Right.
And then with COVID, they stopped it. And then the year after that, they ran it June at Westchester, I think. And they've been using June as a date now. And everyone is very disappointed because they want to have, or October, they want to have it back in the garden. However, that's not going to happen this year. I think they're still going to have it in June, right after our national. Our national is early this year. Before my national in 21, it was the week before our national, and we had a big turnout because everybody came into the East Coast for Westminster. So we had a big turnout at the national, and this year it'll be after the national. So yeah, I know it's very frightening because this is where we get the people who are, completely dedicated to the breeds. And if we don't have dog shows where people can come and learn about the breeds, it really makes a big difference. Ciaran, it's so great to see you.
Lovely to be back, Debbie. Absolutely lovely. Hi, Connie.
And where in the world are you?
Hi, Ciaran.
Just completed 4 months in France today, so which has flown by. So I'm still with 2 dogs, 4 horses, 2 chickens, and a cat.
Just a few animals to take care of, and hopefully you have your note on the refrigerator, right? In case something happens to Ciaran.
Oh, there's a long list of instructions on vets and everybody if anything goes wrong, which is quite funny.
With Ciaran, right?
So I was looking after a foal that had a hairline fracture in its hind leg.
Oh.
Ooh.
And it had to be kept locked up in its stable on rubber matting for 2 months, which is
2 months. Yeah, it was happy, and I'm complaining about Junie. He's only about 6 weeks.
And the joke here was, most people who get solitary confinement don't serve more than a few weeks, never mind a few months. And going in there 3 times a day was, to put it mildly, very dangerous, I must say. Absolutely crazy. And it's been quite an interesting education, just the difference between horses and dogs and
cats and chickens.
And chickens. But it's what sort of the strangest lesson I've come away with is you can take these different mentalities and transpose them on certain sections of society. And it's eerily accurate. In other words, you'll have people who are very much like dogs and the predator type, and what's new, what's going to happen. And then you have certain sections of the population, or the security in numbers. We can't afford to take any risks ever.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a weird adventure going from one set of mentalities to the next within a few minutes. And
Yep.
one of the crazy things was you can have a dog outside the kennel chewing on something like timber. So we could sort of put that on parallel lines of how Putin might behave just to crack some noise. And suddenly you have a foal on the other side going ballistic and hoofs flying. And you're sort of there just trying to calm the foal down to stay alive. And
Right. So he
dog
doesn't
sort of-
finish the job he started. Right.
Yeah. Well, I hope I wasn't part of the job he was trying to start. But yeah, sort of a crazy world in a cosmos for a few months. And but that aside, the work on the educational project, and this is something Connie was working with me on, it took a strange turn, which was when I sent it out for reviews. The idea behind this is very similar to the book, but the idea behind it is, again, to make it available to anybody who's thinking of getting a dog, that they know what they're going to get involved in beforehand. So we sort of widened it out considerably to what you received, Connie. So there's sort of three parts to it now. So the first one is the world of dogs and the universal setting, and how dogs came into our lives, and how many breeds there are in the world, and so on. And then the next section is how you take care of a dog when you have it in your life. And then the final section, which includes the MAAP plan, it does spreadsheets for financial planning for the dog's lifespan. And then we have a section on what you need to consider if you're going to work for a rescue shelter as a volunteer. And what sort of surprised me with that was there's no minimum education requirement for anybody who works for an animal charity in the world. You can set one up and go along.
There are no
and
rules and regulations. No.
There's rules and regulations if you own one, but where I'm going with this, Debbie, is, sorry, if you are a director of a charity, obviously there are some rules and regulations, but the point I'm getting at is that there's no minimum education requirement to look after animals, even if you run a charity. And so anyway, that last section is sort of a warning to anybody who's thinking of volunteering of what they should be looking for.
What they should know, right?
Yeah,
what they should know.
And the simple things like, make sure the charity actually has insurance, and very few of them have it on their website, any sort of declaration that they carry insurance. So the that's what's going to be what's the word, launched within the next few weeks. We finally got the last edits together about 2 days ago. Now they're going through the web development process and everything. But the good news is that we can make this course and the multiple choice certification completely free to every member of staff or every volunteer of an animal charity anywhere in the world now. So
wonderful.
So that's now the beauty of it is
you can have some consistency in application.
Yeah. That is the idea, and we have a couple of rescue shelter managers that worked with us on the process, and we have our first rescue shelter using it on the website as soon as it's finished. So it's then as I said, we have a very big partner in that, which is an e-learning company that's one of the giants in the business. It's sort of like the Facebook of the e-learning world.
Oh, great.
And with their help, you see, we don't have to worry about tweaking about the payments come in or they don't
They're
come
gonna
in,
do
or
that.
they look
Yeah.
after that, and which is a lovely feeling, putting it mildly, and it releases us to do other things. And
Right.
what we're looking at with One-Eyed Leo, that has not died at all. That's still very much in our minds. But to bring it into the virtual reality space, because that's where everything is going now, and it's going there at a frightening pace. So have you ever used the virtual reality glasses, Deb?
I have. They make me a little nervous because I get vertigo.
Right. But they are the new laptop
I know.
technology. It's
And you know, that's fine. If people can learn how to train their dogs and have their dogs sit with virtual reality, then when they get home, they might be able to do it as well, which is great.
mhm. Well, it's basically the generation between the 5 and 12-year-olds are the big ones for the VR, virtual reality world.
Yeah.
And in the States, 75% of all children between 5 and 12 have used the VR last year.
That's a frightening number, but okay.
It is very frightening.
Frightening as in?
As in, you know, reality should take precedent over virtual reality. Going out and petting a dog, or going out and being part of training a dog, or maybe going to a training session, you know, on hands-on. It's not that I'm against virtual reality. I'm not against it. I think it can enhance the real thing, but do we have a real thing backing up the virtual reality?
Right. I put it this way, Deborah. About 2 months ago, I would have agreed with you 100%.
Yeah.
Now I have the opposite view, which is virtual reality is such a powerful wave. Like when I'm watching movies now, I only watch them through the VR because it's like being in a cinema with a giant screen. And when I'm watching the highlights of the football matches, it's like being at the side of the field. It's just a different world.
It's
now,
different.
where I'm going, it's very different and it's incredibly attractive. Where I'm going with this is, you see, the opportunity is that you can bring children into the world of a rescue shelter or whatever as if they're actually there. And you can do things with this, including, you know, canine education that simply wouldn't have been available before. So a simple example is you can get the shape of a dog or the size of a dog and then look at how the dog would fit into your own house. So I'll say as a halfway step to pushing the agenda of better canine welfare, I think it's a race to whoever gets in there early and gets in there first. Now, the interesting thing is Pedigree, which is owned by the Mars family, have already started in this, and they've opened up something called the Fosterverse, where they have programs about foster care for dogs. So they're the first in, which means they're going to be the first of many.
Yeah. And I've heard, and you might have some information on this as well, that they are now trying to shift the shelter protocols to include foster in the event someone has a job loss, a home loss, a sickness, so that they don't have to relinquish their dogs to the shelter, but rather they'll be a partnership with the shelter to help them keep their dogs while they get sick, if they're sick or if they lose their job or their home.
Well, and Ciaran, you had not yet rejoined us, but a couple of weeks ago, we just brought up the subject of domestic violence and how so many women will stay in an abusive, physically threatening relationship because they are terrified that if they leave their animal, the animal will be seriously injured or killed, and they cannot take the animal with them to any kind of a halfway house or a
not
shelter
many.
for
There
themselves.
are a few. Yeah,
exactly.
There are a few, but not many. Yeah,
exactly. There are more and more, but not nearly enough. So, that is another instance of, where we need to do much better with, with the change in
Foster.
life circumstance, shall we say,
Mhm.
to save both animals and people who are the victims of an abusive relationship.
That's so true. Now, Ciaran, this virtual reality foster that Pedigree and the Mars people are getting involved in, is it that the children will foster a pet virtually so that they get an idea? It's sort of like reading One-Eyed Leo in real time with virtual reality. Is that what it is?
That's it. Yep. Yeah, that's very much it.
And is it working in the rescue as well, the shelter rescue, or is it fostering, or is it both?
As I understand it, this is only introduced, we're talking about weeks ago.
Right.
And it's just foster care, and it's even the program looks very primitive, but it's the very beginning of a trend, very beginning.
Well, it's, trends can be good. Trends can be your friends. So I'll be really interested to hear how it progresses, because when I said that rescues don't need anyone with education either, I meant that there are often people who, have a 501c3 created for a rescue, but really don't have any, other than loving animals, don't have any education on how to run a rescue. And the shelters usually are run by a town or a county. So they do have educational requirements, maybe not for the people who come and volunteer, but for the people who run it, the administrators and the people who are on salary, not the volunteers. But you're absolutely right. There should be either a virtual training or a live training to make sure that people who are working at rescue shelters have an idea of what the protocols are, and that someone's watching that the protocols are being followed. I think that's probably the most important piece.
And also, Ciaran, if I can add, having chaired my local breed club's rescue team until we went separate into in the United States, what Deborah's referring to, a 501c3. That's an federal Internal Revenue Service designation for a charity. Everything from the United Way and the American Red Cross all the way down to your local dog rescue. In other words, they are a very not-for-profit. They have to certify that they do truly charitable work, and any donations to them are tax exempt for the donors. And of course, all nonprofits in the United States, even if they are not outright charities, like for instance, my national breed club, are tax exempt.
Right.
But at any rate, the biggest issue for us in purebred rescue is working with governmental animal shelters run by either city or county animal control agencies. Yes, their shelter staff are somewhat trained. Yes, they are salaried, but they are very, very untrained and uneducated in terms of the different breeds. And when a purebred rescue team or a purebred dog club comes to get one of our dogs out of the shelter, they are very, very, very ignorant as to what is a particular breed. For instance, I was contacted as the soft-coated Wheaten Terrier rescue chair for Southern California by a big county animal shelter just south of me for what turned out to be a purebred golden retriever. And when I saw a picture of the dog, I immediately contacted the Southern California Golden Retriever Club and this poor dog, who was otherwise perfectly adoptable and was eventually adopted, was 18 hours away from being euthanized.
Yeah.
So, but for anybody to mistake a golden retriever for a Wheaton Terrier is beyond belief. And that's what the shelter staff had him labeled as.
And that's why we as preservationist breeders and as breed clubs really have to work with shelters, not to be adversaries. Like we get a purebred Irish setter in and we, don't want to give it up. We want to, place it for a certain amount of money, and that's rescues as well. We really want to help place them in a situation where the dog has been evaluated. I know when purebred rescue their dogs, they evaluate them because they've had a million of them, right? So they know what the idiosyncrasies are, and then they can place them in a better home, which is, just because you want an Irish setter doesn't mean you should really have an Irish setter. They can, drive you crazy. So it's important to help rescues and rescue shelters work together with breeders. And this program would be great if when the fosters are taking a dog home, whether it's a purebred or a mixed breed, if it's, something identifiable. I remember when I rescued a Chow Chow that they thought was an Irish setter. Black tongue should have been a big tick off, but it wasn't. I called, like Connie, I called Chow Chow Rescue and drove him to Chow Chow Rescue, and he was fine, but he was red, and that was close enough for government work. So we are hopeful that this is going to work out really well. So we're coming to like 5 after 7 because we always have such great conversations when you're here, Ciaran. We missed you very much. We really did, and we love to hear the update on your wonderful book and your wonderful program that is going to really revolutionize the ability to learn what you need to know before you get a dog, and then if you have a dog, how to handle a dog. I mean, I'm sure that Susan would love to be part of how do you handle a dog once you have it if it's not what you anticipated. So really is very important. Before I close, I do want to say that it's so important to make sure that whatever MAAP plan you make, you tell your veterinarian and you update your attorney. We just had a program with an attorney who is writing the trust. He doesn't really do a trust. He does sort of a power of attorney over the dogs. So it was a whole new process for me that I learned, which I'll bring to the program this weekend, that is different, but I think better. And he was very much the have on your keychain, my dogs are home alone. So he was definitely in the MAAP community. He just didn't know the MAAP community existed. So he and I are talking. Unfortunately, we couldn't talk this week because of my schedule, but we're going to be talking, and I'm hoping to have him on. He's part of you'll know this group, Connie, the Brooks Institute. They're out in California, and they
actually, I don't. I've never heard of them.
Yeah, so it's Brooking, not Brooks, and they are underwriting the animal law program at Harvard. So I'll send everyone some information. I'll give it to Rose and she'll give it to everyone. But this guy was really great, and he actually shared all of his templates and things that he uses. They are very legalistic as opposed to what I do, which is more personal, so that you can then bring it to your attorney to make the programs. But these would be such great templates to give your attorney so they create the products that you want. So remember, it's really important to have this conversation with your veterinarian, because you know that Connie or Sally or Deborah will be bringing your dog to the vet. They need to have the names. It's just a piece of paper that they'll put in the file that they can find when they need to, that you've given permission for other people to bring your dogs in. And then, of course, making sure that you have an attorney who is pet owner friendly. And it can't just be in your will. It has to be outside your will because of, all the D's that come up, the 9 of them that come up. Death is only one. That makes the 10th one, but there are 9 others. So I just wanted to make sure I touched on that because that's what I had said I would chat about. But we talked about such an important update on Ciaran's book. Ciaran, can people get this yet or not yet?
Well, the book is always available, and the course we're looking at. Let's say safely 3 weeks time. It's definitely we've had I think about 100 people reviewing it, and we had strip away 60% of the original course. You know how these things just can
I do.
drag on. So we're really looking at sometime in March. So hopefully the first or second week in March, and we'll take
Well,
it
just
from there.
make sure you hold on to that extra 60% because that's volume 2, 3, and 4.
No, this is the final version of the course.
Well, you never know. You could always have the advanced version of the course. You could always have I mean, in AKC, they've now recognized that they can have 17 different championship levels, so that people continue to pay to be part of the team. So, you know, it is, make sure you share that with us. So I'm going to wrap up because it's 10 after, and I want to appreciate everyone's time. And I know Ciaran is up in the middle of the night, so I want to really appreciate that you came. We missed you terribly. Susan and Sally, anything to add?
Nope, I can't think of a thing. We covered so much. I thought it was a great evening.
Great.
Looking
Thank
forward
you,
to
Sally.
those templates that you mentioned. Is that going to be the course, or is that going to
It'll be part of the workshop, and it'll be added on. Yes, and it'll be added on to the next workshop as well, because I have to talk to him before I share them with others. But I think since he shared them with an entire group, I don't think he'll have a problem. So this is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. And of course, this wonderful MAAP community. Thank you all for coming. Kiss your babies for me. And until next time, make sure you write your MAAP plan. Hope to see some of you this weekend.